Check 1 2. 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 I had to mute. Ah, crap, here comes the commercial. NyQuil doesn't unstuff your nose. Alka-Seltzer Plus. Cold at night does. Okay. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Okay. The commercial just played. Oh, was that? The mic's really loud in the movie. You can hear everything on the mic. Like, I didn't realize, like, my clothes is really loud. You can't hear it, but... I'm in a room with my girlfriend. If you're watching this later in the future, and you're wondering who that person laughing was. Headphones are on. Headphones are on. Okay, we go. I'm gonna talk like this. I'm gonna talk like this. I'm gonna talk like this. Level, so I don't want to blow anyone's ear. Headphones out. Okay. Welcome to the Daily Study Group. If you're watching this in the future, there's no one watching the stream right now. It's late. It's it's 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, which means it's almost the next day. But I got on here to do this, which is good, because that's the whole point. An hour a day, no matter what. But you might hear noises in the background. It's because I'm on the couch in the living room with my girlfriend, and we make noises and exist. It's weird to say it that way. Let's get right into it. Oh, first, my name is Miguel Coronado. You can find my work at www.mciii.net. My username on most forums and websites is Mike086. On Facebook, you can find my work at facebook.com/IIIMCIII. And I'm part of the Crimson Daggers forum. We've been doing anatomy for the past few days. I need to upload tonight. I'll upload all the videos I haven't uploaded yet, and we'll just get right into it. We're going to do the hands. We're in the book How to Draw and Paint Anatomy by Imagine Effects, with breakdowns and diagrams by Ron Lemon. I suggest you pick up the book if you can find it. It's you can order it offline. But I got mine at Barnes & Noble. I haven't really read through the book, which I should have done. I should have read through the book, definitely. But I'm kind of reading as I go for this hour. And we'll just get started. We're going to start with the bone shapes of the fingers. And we're going to kind of go from there into the general shape of the hand. Here we go. The metacarpal bone is the bone we're about to draw. And the phalanges is the bone name. If this is your first time joining, this is, here we go. It's the Daily Study Group. We do this every day for an hour. We stream a study, and I kind of just talk through it out loud, and you're invited to follow along and post up your results on the forum, and keep doing it every day. That's the whole point. It's just to encourage people to study, or just allow you to have a video or some place to go and see that other people are doing it too, and help you to kind of just focus on that. Okay. CJ Marsh is the other artist kind of doing this with me, and there's a bunch of others that are on the forum that are posting up too, and a few of them are doing live streams along with posting the work, so you can follow along with that with them if you want, if they're kind of covering something that you're more interested in or that you feel you need more practice in. Right now I'm going through anatomy, and then as soon as I'm done with anatomy I'll be going into composition, and it's just going to be an hour every day. Anyway, and we'll probably plan out some other stuff later, but for now we're just going to keep it with this. Starting on Monday I'll probably have a regular schedule. I'll be doing this like every morning. So these are like my last two. These last 2 days are kind of still kind of random. So during the weekdays I'll be doing a regular scheduled time, and then on the weekends I'll kind of lay back and either do them in the evening or do them whenever. But during the week we'll have a scheduled day that we'll do that. Okay. So basically the structure of the bone's like this. This area here is a lot larger in relation to the rest of it, but it's just going to be a barrel attached to like a prism, or a cylinder attached to a prism. A barrel is the term that he uses in the book. Okay. It's a little, I guess, the finger is a little thinner in the diagram, just so y'all understand that it's not exactly matching. That's a little better. There we go. Just so basically the fingers are made up of these bones, and they get kind of consecutively smaller as they go along to the point. And this barrel shape, it kind of has this rounded look to it from the front, and it's actually going to be kind of like a spool in the end, actually. So the way it works is the spool shape is going to have the tendons running through it, or on top of it. So this divot is for the tendon. So from another angle we'll just have the spool shape. The tendon will run over it and back into the forearm. Okay. Hard side of the hand. Okay. This just has a quick breakdown of the squishy parts of the hand. Let me zoom in a bit so I can make sure that this is... Okay, there we go. I don't have the other monitor out right now, so if it's hard to see what I'm doing, just let me know, and then I'll check the chat eventually. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight the squishy or soft parts of the hand. That's all it kind of says. I mean, there's a lot more. There's a whole article, but like, I'm not going to read that. Let me zoom out a bit, actually. I'll zoom in a second, but it's easier to draw this at 100%. Okay. This is going to be like a generalized outline of the hand. And I'm just going to go in and highlight what needs to be shown. You kind of bear with me if something looks weird, just because I'm drawing a diagram. It's not an actual hand. Not like in the representational sense. I don't know why that. Oh, I see that. Okay. This goes right here. This is highlighted, and likewise on the other side comes off, and then the thumb is going to come up from here, and then have its the end come to there. So one thing to note as I'm doing this that I'm kind of noticing is that the wrist is about as wide, or it's not as wide, but it's obviously it's not as wide. The wrist is going to be within the range of the 4 fingers, which doesn't make as much sense as it. Now that I'm saying it, it actually doesn't help at all. And okay, so if this is your first time doing this, or if you're watching this on YouTube and it's the first video you watch, I'm not trying to teach anything. All I'm trying to do is just show you my thought process. So don't listen to what I'm saying and think that I'm like spouting out correct information. I'm studying right now, so like I'm in the middle of learning, and I'm gonna say the wrong things or do something incorrectly as I'm doing this, and it's not necessarily the correct thing, so I'm going to kind of a disclosure. In the future, when I've got like clients and stuff, and I've got a few of these areas down, I'll offer classes somehow, but it'll probably be in person, and you'll probably have to like be at the location. I like teaching, but I'm not really there ready to teach yet. Unless you're like a little kid and don't know how to draw at all, I can teach you the basics. That's something I could do. Okay. I don't think there's any kids watching. If there's any kids watching, forgive my language when I mess up. So anyway, this is just showing off the squishy area of the hand. And that's kind of what it says here. And then it kind of breaks down the front. I'm going to copy this so I can highlight it for y'all. Okay, so the front will be it's a little off actually. Now that I flipped it, I can see that this fingers should come in closer here. Okay, Same for this. We'll correct that too real quick. Oh, that's the wrong layer. That's what's going on. Okay, so now we're going to flip. This is going to be the front of the hand, and we've got this area, so the fingerprint area. This is basically going to look like a glove when I'm done. Like a glove for like working or something. This pad. Just another pad. It's going to overlap the this next area. It looks like the logo to Body Glove, which makes those like swimsuit, not swimsuits, but the swim, like the scuba diving suits. And all these are shaded in, and this is just showing you where the soft parts are. I think lots of us know this part. I mean, I feel like that's a bit, you know, feel your own hand, look at your own hand. They're soft here because the joints are going to be kind of where the muscle, and not muscle, but where the bones and the tendons pass through. And then right here is like some muscle and flesh. Okay.
Sorry for the sniffing.
It's okay. If you hear a faint sniffling, and ignore it. Anyway. Yeah. And there's a side view too, which I guess I'll draw that too quick. It's side view, and then that's the back of the hand here. This will be the palm. This area is highlighted. Just gonna shade that in. I know I drew that kind of close, but that's the ring finger. This is the left hand. I'm sorry. Well, I guess it's the right hand. Anyway, this is like the side view of a hand. Simplified. It's just showing you like where the meaty part is. Okay, let's go on to another. There's a little section here about a hand holding a ball. Start with the object to be held. Next, add the arm rhythms and the shape of the ball from the palm of the hand. Then attach the finger wires to the ball mass. It's just a little breakdown. Okay, it's just the basic way to have a hand holding a ball or hand holding something is to just have an idea what you're going to want it to be holding first, and then build the hand around it. Draw the overall pose and then attach the hand later. Okay, I'm going to jump over to the next page. I'll skip the ball thing, and I'll show you kind of a simplified version of what he's explaining, which is it's just using a gesture within the arm and then building the hand after the gesture. So if we have let me scroll down for everyone to see. If we have a person that's going to be pointing, if a person's going to be pointing, we're going to have an arm, and we're going to kind of build from this line. He's calling these action and character lines, and he says don't take too long, it's just a sketch. So okay, start with 2 lines, trying to keep it a little simple as far as like the fluidity, but so I kind of screwed that up already. Okay. Connect the top and bottom where the bulk of the arm / the hand ends. Oh, I see what he's done. Okay, actually, let me go back and erase this a bit. The tube is going to last longer, and you'll understand what I mean by that in a second. Okay, so it's going to look like the forearm's a little too long, and that's part of this. Okay. It's going to look like the forearm's a little too long, but we're going to come in here and kind of mark out where you want the hand to be. This is real basic stuff, so we're going to like follow this and create the finger. Remember, it just says don't take too long, we're just doing a quick sketch to show you how to construct. This knuckle should be down here. Oops. And then we're going to go in, come back here, and kind of add in the thumb, which he just drew out like this. And then he's got this section here. I'm actually going to come in and kind of like clean it up this way. He doesn't cut into the shape, but I'm cutting into the shape because of the way I've drawn it. It's a little incorrect. Or it's just like, it's easier for me to come in and cut into the shape than it is to start it off. Then you come in here and put the wrinkles in to create the fingers pointing. So it's a hand pointing, kind of get how it works. It says add fingers, shade basic forms to begin imagining the light over the forms, which I'm not going to do. Well, I guess I could do it. The light's going to come from the top, so we're going to shade the basic forms. Okay, so what we're going to notice in this like today's study about the hands is we're not going to go in depth about the muscle groups the way we did with all the other body parts. This one is really about like construction, but like what I mean by that is we're not like, it's only a 2-page spread that talks about the hands, and the entire thing it communicates the hand shape in terms of shapes. Like there's no breakdown. Like we're not going to sit here and draw the muscle groups and the tendons like we've done with everything else. Which you're going to find a little different because the past few days we've been doing nothing but forearm muscles, and you've heard me mess up on muscle names and chest muscle names. Popular names like the, hold on, I'm going to double cross check this. The brachioradialis. I got that correct, okay.
Brachio, maybe.
brachioradialis, and the ever popular coracobrachialis. I don't know. Anyway, I've been messing up with it every time I say it. I'm talking with my girlfriend about it because she used to take some medical classes and is used to talking about this stuff. Is that serratus? Serratus?
Probably. All Latin.
It's all Latin. Anyway. Okay, back to the hand real quick. The study is probably going to go into the next day, but it doesn't mean it's tomorrow's study. We're going to do a study tomorrow, probably at an earlier time. Hello. Oops. Hello, everyone. If you just joined or joined earlier, there was no one in the chat earlier. It was just more hand construction. So, like, here's something else. We start with a circle, create a cylinder, right? And then if you want to have like a hand holding this thing, whatever it is, we'll start with creating a basic shape, like super basic. It's going to be basically like a tube kind of wrapping around. So you see how okay. Then we're going to come in here and we're going to start cutting out little sections. So there's here's what he calls the weld line. Flow line for the fingers, wrist division, arm action. So there's wrist divisions like up here, and it's just a line like this. Just a curved line. And it's just, I don't actually know how I picked it. I think right here he divided this in half. And then the wrist division is just like about here, which it's positioned about where the hand should be, like where the wrist would start. And then from here, add the thumb wedge. Draw a door. What does it mean by draw a door? It doesn't say draw a door, if anyone is wondering where the hell I just said that. It's a quote from Beetlejuice. I forgot to like mention it, so like if anyone, I was like, why did he say draw a door? And he's not drawing a door. And then this, we kind of end up shading this area along with this whole area here. So we're going to create a line here, and this all becomes shaded. It's all basic hand construction. Okay. And then here we start the knuckle line. And then he does one of those how to draw a drawing book things where he does one of those things where like the next step is almost just the hand drawn, where like it's going to jump to I'll draw it out so I can explain it, but I'm pretty sure all y'all know what I'm talking about. You've all seen those books where it's like the next step is just like a hand, and then he went ahead and added like the curvature right here, like this organic curve of the wrist, and right here this part of the wrist bone, and it comes down. I guess it comes down all the way actually, so it comes down to here, and Okay. My hand's a little, the finger positions are different from the diagram. But like, that's how the next diagram looks. It's just like, just kind of jumps to like, oh, it's just now a finished hand. Anyway, let's go on to the next thing. It's drawing the gripping hand. The basic thing you need to remember for all this, from what I'm gathering, is just you need to draw whatever it is the guy's going to hold first. So like, if they're going to hold the ball, you draw the ball, and then you kind of create the gesture of the hand over the ball, like kind of just vaguely. Maybe you won't see the finger on the side. And then you kind of come in and start plotting out from the shapes. The basic hand, and that's kind of like how it's got it structured. Oh, so but the method is you have the palm in place as like an ovally shape, and then it goes into the arm, and then the initial finger marks are just these lines, and he calls them what does he call them? Wire fingers. Yeah, so calls them wire fingers, and then he just builds off the shape of the fingers. But that's how he's explaining it that way, where you're gonna, if you're ever kind of questioning how the hand position should be, you start that way, and then you build off. That finger's not looking good right here. So I kind of reposition my ball. There we go. Anyway. That's not the best. Did you hear that? It's 12 o'clock, little robot.
No, headphones.
Oh, that's right. Anyway. Let's see, go on to the next. Here's another construction thing of the hand. If we extend the rhythm lines of the hand beyond the fingertips, the lines meet. They would all meet at a point. The hand is diamond-like. Knuckles divide the hand at the middle point of the diamond. The thumb is an add-on. To add on, in this case, start with a triangular mass. Finally, add the wiggly part. His words, not mine. So, it's got like a point, and then we've got, it kind of has like this football shape, or like an eye shape. Kind of get you to understand the proportion of the hands. And within this shape, we have a curve, and that's the bottom of the hand, and then this is going to be like the top finger, which would be the middle finger. And he's kind of got it kind of blocked out very roughly. I say rough, I mean like it's like basic shapes. He's got his ring finger slightly taller than the middle finger, than the index, my ring finger is the same. It's barely longer than my index finger. So like my index finger is like almost the same height as my ring finger. But I think that kind of differs between person to person. It's one of those things that's slightly different. But oh, that didn't look good. Hold on, I gotta erase all that. So yeah, that's something that it's gonna probably differ person to person. It's the length of the fingers. I guess his is kind of like that. The pinky looks a little chunky compared to how it really looks. Anyway, and the halfway point's like right around here. And then he says you would start adding the thumb with the triangle. And then the wiggly part, which is kind of just this. I mean, this is, there's like a real quick doodle in the book. Okay, hold on, that's not that bad. I'm doing a little too fast, like. It's drawn like that, but just for the sake of time, I'm just gonna extend it a bit. Just because the thumb, depending on the position of the thumb, it comes just past the knuckle. If your hand's kind of just at rest, it should come like if the knuckles are here, just past. But of course your thumb it's posable, so it actually could reach far past there. But anyway, that's it. That's a little diagram. Drawing the gripping hand, constructing a hand. I'll go over constructing a hand. What is this? Hold on. We got a bunch of stuff going on here. Hello. Let me kind of read a thing. Yeah, it's cool if you're using another book to study from. That's just what I'm using. I feel like Loomis has he has like a whole book on hands, I think. But this is literally just 2 pages on hands. And, sorry, it's not 2 pages. It's like 4 pages, but like, it's nothing like the rest we just covered. Like, the section on hands is not as in-depth as like the shoulders and the arms, where it broke down every single muscle and it showed how the muscles wrap on the bones. There's not even any muscles broken down on this section. It's all using shapes. This little section is actually, this reads the most like how to draw hands, or like how to draw book, where it says like, start with a shape, add the fingers, then make it a hand, and it's just like all of a sudden just drawn out. It's not nearly as in-depth. In terms of the diagrams, the actual writing, there's a lot of writing about the gripping of the hands, and I'm just not reading through all that because, I'm not going to just read the book aloud. You should probably go buy it yourself. Basically, I don't want to get in trouble with reading the book aloud. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm kind of following through it. Totoro. Hello. I don't think I've seen you on the chat before. No, it's Totoro. Totoro. Anyway. So, okay. These diagrams, I mean, like the things I'm drawing here are taking less time, and they're definitely less, not detailed, but less, I don't know, it's less about the anatomy, more about just the basic shapes. It's the one thing that's really, okay, so something that I guess the one thing I'm picking up from this that I didn't really think about before is that the fingers are the same. Your fingers from the knuckle to the tip of your finger is going to be the same length as the entire palm of your hand to the wrist. And that's something I've not really considered. So let me draw out what I mean. Oh, I didn't get that right. Okay. If your palm is here, the fingers are going to be the same distance, like at least your middle finger. This is Drew hand flicking everyone off. Then you'd have your index finger, ring finger, probably shorter than that. The Loomis book's way more in depth because it's all about the hands and the head, like Marjorie said. It's an entire book on hands and head. So like, there's no way this 2-page spread is gonna kind of compare to that. So, yeah, this is just the book I chose to study from, just because I wanted to kind of hear what Ron Lemon had to say. I have a friend that told me about the book actually too, and so when I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick this up. Anyway, so the hand could probably stand to be a little wider. That's a pretty thin looking hand, but let's just widen it out real quick. Oh, too big. Okay, there we go. So, anyway. The finger wires are about the same length as the palm hand. He keeps calling them finger wires. Fingers are the same length as the palm. There's actually like, there's this hand drawing with a pencil, which I guess is one of the things that everyone likes to draw. But it starts off with I'll build this in some layers. It starts off with like this shape here. It's kind of like a prism. It's kind of wonky because it's like trying to be the hand. I guess here, let me redo this. There's a better way of doing this. Okay, we're going to start with a rectangular prism. If this is the wrist, and the rest of the arm goes back here, we're going to build off from here with this shape. It's real kind of generalized. I guess I didn't exactly draw it the way he drew it, but I'll just do it anyway. This is the construction method. If that's the wrist, the basic block shape, you build off a prism from the wrist. So you got another face here. And then you got your wire marks. Which would be like just kind of out here. The wire lines are coming off from the top of the hand, like the back side of the hand. And they're just kind of like flowy looking marks. And then he's got the thumb too. looks like he drew the thumb line from here, the bottom corner, which would make sense because that's where the thumb should come off. And then he's got these other lines he's calling the character line. But basically it goes from having the wire hand to filling in where the finger is. Let me try and get this a little more correct. This, I mean, like this section is a lot. I mean, I feel like it was way more in depth than the other sections. So all I can tell you is this is about how it goes in this section. I'm not like disappointed. I just I feel like it's hard for me to really talk about. It's doing the art book thing, the how to draw thing, which is the it's just saying like start with basic shapes, build lines, make it a hand, and then it's just suddenly the hand. And that's something that I think some people can get frustrated with when they're trying to follow along, you know. I think we've all been there when at one point, kind of growing up, we saw an art book that was just like how to draw an owl. Start with a circle, then draw the owl. I have a way I construct hands, and I guess I can go over that, which isn't, I mean, I'm not like an expert, but there's a way I like to draw them that kind of gives me the basic shapes. I just kind of drew a right hand. I'm realizing now that I'm drawing a right hand. I normally draw left hands if I'm showing like an example, because I'm right-handed, so look at my left hand when I'm drawing. Ron Lemon has drawn a bunch of right hands, except in one instance. And the reason he's drawn a bunch of right hands is because I know he's left-handed. So I'm drawing a right hand now, which I'm not used to drawing, but anyway. There's some simple curves to the hand that I've kind of taught myself from just drawing my own hand over and over again. And my first advice, if you're drawing hands, is to use reference, because your hand position is always going to be different. There's always different angles. My second piece of advice is to, when you're positioning the hands, you need to I don't know, I feel like thinking of the fingers as wires isn't as helpful, because they're pretty chunky when you think about the fingers. Like just having a wire drawn out doesn't really show the how to kind of build from the hand, in my opinion. It's just because it's been easier for me to teach myself like this. And let me just pull up a, it's like if I'm drawing a fist, if I'm drawing the character, I just start with the circle. If it's coming towards you, have the arm, those are the forearm muscles, right? So it curves back, and then you would have like blocking it out, to me, is more helpful. And then like there's different ways you make a fist, but one way you don't do is you never put your thumb inside your hand, because you can break your thumb by punching like that. So the thumb's always going to be out here, either to the side or sometimes curled under like that. It kind of depends on what the guy's doing. Or if the character's not supposed to be experienced at fighting, it's like if it's a comic or something, it's part of the story, then you would definitely have it tucked in. Maybe he's an idiot and just doesn't know what he's doing. And all these fingers are cylinders, and that's something I always consider. Like, it's all a bunch of cylinders attached to a block. And then you gotta kind of, like, the relation of the sizes matter. Like the pinky is a lot smaller. You know. And, I'm doing a terrible job right now don't look at that. I'm trying to think. Now that I'm trying to explain it, I'm actually trying to think of how I do this. If I'm drawing someone, well, okay, so when I'm drawing someone digital painting, I use I block out with tone, and then like if they have their hand like their fingers outstretched, I block out those shapes, and for me, it's a lot easier to use these block, like if I have the brush, it's set to the, generally try and set the brush to about the width of the fingers when I get to the hand part. And then, like in this case, I got to come back here and like kind of fix. And I see like right now, because I'm not actually drawing any particular thing, I'm trying to decide if this is, if I'm trying to demonstrate top of the hand or the bottom of the hand. So like, if I come in here and like finish this finger out, and then the thumb's here, you see how trying to adjust. See, I'm trying to include perspective a little bit, but I come in here and then probably need a. This would be very. So what I'm trying to show, and this is doing a great job, because I'm kind of rushing. I didn't have an idea. Come in here and clean this up. This finger looks like it's broken, sticking off, so I'm just going to take this whole thing off. I position the hand like this, though. I kind of like, this is how I do it when I draw it, too. I'm kind of like getting the gesture. I mean, if the guy is doing something in particular, it's much easier. Right now I'm just kind of guessing something. So I'm kind of going back and forth. But, if you've seen your fingers, if you've ever like just held your hand out and spread your fingers, you'll know that there's like a little bit of skin that kind of creates these like webbing between your fingers, and it kind of limits your range of motion, right? Because your fingers can't just go haywire, or else they'll be like broken. But same here. So like, and then your hands generally like, your hand curves like this. So if the thumb's out here, and this is a finger, this is a finger, this is a finger, this is a finger, the hand kind of curves in. It can cup around. It can also flatten out, but like, the one thing the hand doesn't do, it doesn't go the opposite way, unless something's messed up with your hand. Like your hand, the palm. I keep saying your hand, but I mean the palm. The palm does not curve the opposite way. It only curves one way. So generally, your hand is kind of in a cupped position. You don't normally have your hand flat, like ever, unless you're standing at attention like a soldier. When your hand's relaxed, it's always curved and cupped. What are you doing?
I zoomed into the makeup and
Sorry, I saw a really funny picture. You guys can't see it, but anyway. This is something that's not in the book, but you know, like the palm doesn't. It can flatten and then it can curve in, but it can't curve the opposite way. That's not a thing that happens. And generally, whenever you're drawing the hand, it never is flat, unless the guy is like a soldier standing at attention, or something's wrong with him. So there's always like this kind of cupping motion going on. You can kind of see it in the hand I'm drawing now, like the fingers always kind of, and this one's kind of wonky a little bit because I need to kind of fix them up. So, and then let me kind of add in, like, you guys can't really tell because I haven't really added in the proper, like, light sources and stuff. So, like, if this is the side of the hand right here, that's another side of the finger, that's another side. You can kind of see what, like, how I'm doing here. You can't really see the fingernail because it's like we're showing the inside of the palm. Anyway, and from there you kind of like render out, but like the basic shape of the hand. And the way I kind of did it here, it's like it's curving away from us that way. Or like, I guess if I'm thinking in 3 dimensions, it's curving away from us that way. So, I'm trying to see if I can't give you any more like knowledge. That gap's too big what I just created here. Actually, I don't know what I'm doing. I have Photoshop. I could just reposition things. Yeah, and then the fingers can spread a good amount. Like, when you spread out your fingers like pretty wide, like it almost, you rarely extend your fingers like that, but like if you're drawing like a super tense pose where the guy is like, I don't know, about to like in the middle of a fight for his life, you always kind of push the posture beyond the norms. But that's one thing. And then there's just like there's some general curves that are involved. So like, let me think of how the best way to demonstrate this. Well, if you're going to draw just a finger, remember there's 3 sections to each finger. It's the little part, the middle part, and then like the base. And then the way the skin folds, it creates a Y. If you curl your finger in all the way, you'll see a little Y shape. So it'll be like this. Okay? That's how like a finger looks whenever it's curled in. So until it gets to that position, the skin will curl in like that. It'll begin forming in that Y shape. So depending on how the finger is positioned, you're going to have various levels of that Y shape forming. And then just like, okay, so it's just like this shape here is eventually going to become this Y shape. And I mean, you just look at your way you're holding your stylus and just, your fingers do things. Like some people, when they draw with a pencil, their fingers have like this like look to it, where it's a gentle arc through the joints. But like right now when I'm holding my stylus, like if this is my stylus, right now as I'm doing this, my index finger is like completely curved. And it's such a sharp curve that it's like, it goes up, stops, and kind of goes back around. So these first 2 joints, kind of just completely make this like straight look, and the bottom's actually a little more curved than that. So, you know, it looks like it looks improper. It doesn't look like it should curve that much, but it does. That's how much, and then my knuckle is like back here. And that's just my index finger, and then the other, my middle finger kind of comes around like this, and it's a little more like a gentle arc here, right? And then you can't see this stuff in here, it's all dark. But like that, like those are the kind of shapes your fingers can create. Like they'll actually, even though your finger is made up in these segments like that, they'll bend. Like they'll create these curves. And my fingers in particular, I'm double jointed, so like if I point, like if I point as straight as I can with my finger, it has this curve to it. It curves out, and then the top of the finger is like that, and then it actually like it comes in a good amount like this. So when you're double jointed, your fingers kind of like this extra little joint has this range of motion that most people don't have. It doesn't do anything. It just makes your fingers do weird positionings. It's the only thing. So the problem when I draw hands, I use myself as reference, is that not everyone's double jointed, and if I draw a hand like this pointing, where the finger's like arching like that, it looks weird. Like I can't draw a pointing finger like that because most people don't do that, and they'll be like, oh, he doesn't know how to draw fingers. I have to like go back in and fix it. I got to go back in and fix that. I gotta. Most people point, and it's like first base of the finger, midpoint of the finger, and then the top of the finger create like a straight line, almost a straight line, right? And then the base of the fingers here, and then that's the rest of the hands right here. But when I point, it actually curves in like that, and I can actually point the front of my finger to where I want, and the base would like it'll curve so great that like it looks like my finger something's wrong with it. It curves in a good amount, like a good amount more than you think it could. So like this is something that my finger does on both hands, all the fingers. But that's just something like for me, I gotta remember that that's just not how other people's hands work. And if when you spread your hand out, like if you spread all your fingers out as far as you can, including your thumb, it's got. I mean, when you're drawing that, like, remember how up here we drew the fatty portions of the finger? All that changes whenever you have your fingers like hyperextended out. Not hyperextended. Hyperextended would mean like you hurt them. But when you're drawing the hands, and see, I kind of wish he went into the muscle groups here because your finger has like this bone here, and then I'm drawing. This is the index finger. I'm going to draw the thumb. So there's this bone, and there's like this mass. It's more prominent in some people than others. And then it goes into this other little section of the joint where it's the bone. And then you got like the tendon you can kind of see extruding from the hand a little bit. And then you have your thumb. Okay. And well, your thumb's probably... My thumb's more like that. It comes out, and then my nail bed is pretty narrow and long. I don't have like short, fat nails. And then the thumb has this joint right here where it meets. Like, so there's a joint here, and then it kind of like has a sharp, almost a straight line, and that connects right underneath the first knuckle, the index finger, and then it goes to your wrist. But between this point and up to like this, it connects into the second. It's like, the thumb's two sections. It's got the tip and it's got the bottom part, the base. So from right here to this second section, you've got this little like area of skin, and it kind of creates a little web. And those are things you got to remember when you're drawing out hands, because like some of these breakdowns, I don't know if it's as clear. Like earlier right here we drew this. but like that skin is pretty prominent, because then when you make a knuckle, all that, like when you make a knuckle, when you when you make a fist, all that skin bunches up. Um, so a fist would be like, start off with like a square shape. You start off with like, let's say this, start off with like a rectangle, and then you have this triangle on the bottom, right? It's kind of like a triangle shape. And then right here, right before you get to the edge of the triangle, have a circle here. And then your thumb actually encompasses the rest of your fingers. Like your thumb's pretty big in comparison to your fingers when you make a fist. And then your index fingers normally like comes out here, and the knuckles are like the furthest thing out in a proper fist. Like that's the whole reason you hit me with your knuckles. Which, now that you think about it, I mean, now that I think about it and I say that, it sounds like the worst way to hit somebody. It's like hitting somebody with the joints of your hands. It just sounds like a terrible idea. And this is all, remember, this makes the Y shape we talked about earlier. It's a little bit of a gap, Y shape. There's like a star now, so it's, the Y shape's here, and then there's another gap. And then you got these wrinkles. Now these wrinkles are that skin that's on the thumb, and it's just all bunched up here because there's no place for it to go, and it kind of wraps up the hand a bit. Anyway, and then you might, like right now I can kind of see like the edge of my middle finger here, but I can't see anything else really. This is more like that. Goes into a fist. Goes into the wrist. There you go. It's a little more correct. Anyway, so like that skin and that area, it's just a bunch of little wrinkles there, and that's something that isn't really talked about. It's kind of different with each person, but it's something that I feel like is something we can note in terms of how we're rendering. Because I think in the other sections we talked about how the skin stretches in one way and it squishes in another way. And there's a lot of that going on in the hand. And we drew like the toes. Remember how the toes in the previous section, they have a general shape, but then they flatten out and they get squished whenever you're standing. You got to remember that with the hands too. Like depending on what the fingers are doing, their shape changes pretty greatly. Like depending on what they're holding, and like the knuckles themselves have a range of motion. The same way, like I said earlier, that the palm can cup in on itself. The palm can cup like that, like in on itself, but it can't go the other way. And that drastically changes the position of your fingers, and then it creates these new wrinkles that I just don't think people really think about as much when they're doing these construction things. Like there's not really mention of like how the skin's going to wrinkle and bunch up, but that's something you need to use reference for, and you need to study from life. The most I learned about drawing hands, I just drew my own hand over and over again. And if any of y'all know that comic, it's a manga called Naruto. The author, the artist that does all the work, when he was in school, he did an entire sketchbook of nothing but hands, because he told himself, well, he doesn't know how to draw hands that well. Like he didn't know how, so he just spent an entire sketchbook and devoted it to just drawing hands over in every position possible. And if you look at the hands of his characters in that book, they're always really, like, they're simply done, but you can quickly read the dimension of the hands. And you can just tell that he's like mastered that, like he's mastered like the quick read of the hands. Like he doesn't have to take there's not too many lines used, and you understand like what's going on. Certain times when the knuckles do this, they have like that little repeating motion. The thumb, that's another thing. It doesn't really talk about like the thumb in relationship to the fingers. But like right now, my thumb with the fist I'm making covers over these fingers. It's about this big compared to my fingers. My left hand. That's a little too big right there, but something else too, like on the edges here, the skin, at least on my fingers, kind of peeks out because it's being bunched up there, the muscles being bunched up, and like right here too. It creates a little fold, like a divot in the skin that kind of comes out. Okay, my finger's not that big. I kind of like took a second look real quick and anyway. Yeah, I feel like I'll kind of leave this one with a note that you should just practice drawing your own hand over and over again and really kind of take a look at how the hand moves. Make a fist and like actually look at people that fight, like an actual like either people that know martial arts or boxers, see the kind of hands they make when they're actually fighting, and then just other positions. There's a couple diagrams I didn't draw, but I pretty much went through the whole hand section. That's it. Like there's nothing more for me to really talk about other than like reading it. But we're gonna move on to the head tomorrow. This section is the last section. It's another really small section. It's 1, 2, 3. It's 3 pages. And the diagrams are very quick and very easy to draw. They're not like breakdowns of the muscles in the face or anything. So tomorrow's gonna be another short one, and that'll be it. Then we'll be done with the anatomy. I'm gonna start worrying about composition. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the hand section. It's I know there's so many resources about how to draw hands. It kind of doesn't matter. But I didn't want to. I have some. I mean, there's ways I go about drawing the hands that I feel like help people out. I don't know. I block it out with the tone if it's digital. I just don't draw the lines of the hands. I just do tone, and I always keep my brush at the finger size because it's easy. Like I could easily pick out the positions and kind of correct it faster. Anyway, okay. That's really it for today. There are 3 segments to each finger. Just remember when they bunch up, skin creates this Y shape, something easy to remember. And that the fingers and the joints are very flexible and they do things that can be unexpected. And if you're double jointed, you gotta make your fingers look differently because no one else is like that. And it looks weird in your drawings. Anyway, okay. Thanks for joining. I'm going to put this image up on the forum. People are talking on the thing. Yeah, the Loomis one's super detailed, also simplified hand drawings. Setting, I'll be watching the chat, but yeah. Cool, alright. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Sorry it was so late. I'll get on tomorrow and do the one over the head, and then they're going to make up a lesson plan about composition study that I'll go over. Well, I'm not going to go over it. I'm just going to start doing it. So Mondays, we start composition, and I'm going to we're going to jump back and forth from composition to just practicing still life. So that'll be, it won't be as concentrated this next week, because I want to be able to kind of explore some more, not just be stuck on anatomy. Anyway, alright, this will be up in the forum. I'll put up the videos I've done onto YouTube so people can watch them. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to turn on some music and end the stream. And probably go to bed.